Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today, titled "How to Use Digitalization to Drive Efficiency." And we are really happy to have you all here today. And this is a very important and relevant discussion for us. This webinar has been provided and brought to you by Industrial Products Finder magazine. We've been 48 years in the running. Our readership comprises of manufacturers, and we've been, almost a guiding force for the manufacturing industry that gets all their product information from our publication. This was our 48th annual edition that we've just displayed on the screen here for your reference. You can log on to ipfonline.com/subscribe to subscribe to our publication. We also have an online version, so please do log on to our website. These are some of the most effective articles that we have brought out. We've given you some screenshots on this particular slide. Our audience profile, a small glimpse of where all we get our audience from, including international viewership. So it's not just limited to India, but we have viewership from the United States, United Kingdom, Russia, Malaysia, Germany, Australia, so on and so forth. Our digital presence, as I said, is also extremely robust. So you will see that our metrics and people coming onto our websites are extremely high. Do check out the website. We also have a digital services arm, which is actually very relevant to our discussion here today, where we're talking about digitalization. So this will definitely come up in our conversation. But we have a digital services arm where we extend all our services right from social media management to website, to making your website backend, or any sort of designing brochures, anything that you would want to do, lead generation. We do all of this for all kinds of industries and all kinds of companies that we have relationships with. So if there's anything that you want to do digitally in terms of getting your digital properties up and running, especially in this time where people are home and accessing digital much more than ever, please do contact us. I'm the person you would be contacting, and my details are given below. So welcome to today's webinar. I am Priyanka Parode Sheth. I'm the digital head of Industrial Products Finder. And we're discussing an extremely interesting topic here today. The manufacturing industry in India, as everyone knows, has gone through various phases of development. And now we've reached a point, especially with Industry 4.0 and the emphasis on Industry 4.0, where manufacturing has to adopt digitalization, has to adopt automation, has to adopt various systems and processes to drive efficiency and to lower costs. Given the COVID-19 pandemic as well, where we have a lot of migration of workers going back to their hometowns, people not being able to work in as much density as they were able to work before, it's become even more important and even more relevant for us to automate our systems and processes so that even with a reduced workforce, our efficiency does not go down, and companies are able to produce in as much quantities as they could before, so that they can keep their businesses going and their businesses running. While a lot of larger companies, of course, have adopted this, SMEs are yet to adopt this in a big way. And we, of course, have an extremely esteemed panel with us here today. So I'd just like to briefly introduce them. We have Mr. Anup Wadhwa, Director, Automation Industry Association, Ms. Mohini Kelkar, MD of the Grindmaster Group, Mr. Mudit Agarwal, CIO and VP IT Uflex Group. We have Mr. Shivaram PV, a mentor for Center for Industry 4.0 Lab, Department of Heavy Industries, Government of India, and Mr. Samir Gandhi, MD of Omron Automation India. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for being here today. I'm just going to kick off this webinar by giving a short insight onto what the scenario is today for digitalization, and then we'll kind of open the floor to having this discussion. So of course, India has to adopt and adapt these new technologies. Now, of course, as everybody has been seeing Mr. Modi's speeches and also the finance minister, the Make in India emphasis has become even stronger, right? Because people are trying to reduce their reliance on importing a lot of things because they want to manufacture in their own countries due to fear of this virus. And so Make in India, even though it was a pretty big movement before, the emphasis on it has become even stronger. So I think the need for digitalization, the need for companies to really make their systems and processes efficient is higher now than ever. In order to support this growth, India will need an ecosystem comprising tier 1, tier 2, as well as tier 3 suppliers with a high level of efficiency, flexibility, and quality focus. And of course, like I was saying in my introduction before, digitalization will really help us to lower costs, increase your efficiency, keep your production levels almost intact to what it was with this, with increased number of labor. And it will open up new business opportunities for everybody. And I think with the emphasis of working from home and people working remotely, companies are possibly going to have to adopt digitalization, which maybe was an option before, but now the options to the options of go to international trade shows, international exhibitions, meet people, it has gone down, at least for the near future. And so people are going to have to adopt digitalization almost overnight, whether they like it or not. Just a little bit on Industry 4.0. Of course, the Industry 3.0 was talking about computer systems, and now we've got into smart sensors, automation, IoT, machine learning. Of course, now as I was saying, in the COVID-19 pandemic, this has become even more relevant, and it has accelerated the process. So changes that would have taken probably several years to complete, we'll see a lot more changes happening in the next 18 months. And also to combat the unavailability of as much human workers as we used to have before this. The first essential factor of the digitization, so I've just listed out the new manufacturing stack here for all the viewees benefits. And the first essential factor is the digitalization of distribution. The second essential factor is the digitization of the factory floor, which of course means your systems and processes to actually manufacture the product, robotics, 3D printing, IoT. And the third essential factor is the growth of online manufacturing platform. Like I was saying, because your international exhibitions and trade shows will become very less, you're going to have to, SMEs are going to have to learn to register themselves on platforms, to use online platforms to make sure that they are able to sell, export to other countries and keep their businesses going as they were before. So just like there is the GovBuddy marketplace in India, there are various platforms internationally where SMEs will have to learn how to register and how to. So this kind of brings me to our discussion today, which I'm going to open up to our panel, and I'm going to start by directing my first question to Mr. Anupadva. So how is digitalization and automation going to reshape the future of the manufacturing sector in your opinion?
Automation and digitalization are together a very powerful set of technologies, and I think that combination will lay the foundation for what we are hearing as the cyber physical integration. When you talk about the pandemic and its effect, one good thing we've all noticed is that we are able to have seminars and webinars and get people, I think, much more easily. It wasn't possible earlier. You had to wonder about travel time, your next meeting. And after the session is over, I can just switch my connection and get on to another meeting. So that is the power of technology when you are able to connect with human beings. Similar breakthrough is on the anvil when you talk about connecting physical machines on an internet network and then having knowledge workers, etc., all connected. So that really is going to unleashed 2-3 important things in my mind. One is that the knowledge barrier is going to break. We are able to share knowledge so easily now, right? And then you will probably put it on a YouTube and tens of thousands of people are going to catch on to it. Similarly, when a machine breaks down, the expert need not be there on that shop floor. It's possible for him to sit remote and attend to that. So knowledge barriers are going to dissolve.
Right.
The other thing is, you know, the ability to predict with reliability what's going to happen. That is also going to increase, I would say, exponentially. The ability to analyze would be to the level of getting to the root cause. Most of the times when things go wrong, you know, we tend to attend to the outermost observation. We don't immediately, we are not able to drill down to the root cause. So you said something right, but that's temporary. It's like the road repair which happens in Delhi and Mumbai. Next monsoon, again, you're out. That's the second piece. And the third piece is decision makers, operators, every role holder will have power in his hands to act quickly and act with precision. It's almost like precision bombing we've now begun to see in warfare. With the minimal effort, you get the maximum impact. Now that really is going to be the smart way of manufacturing and the ushering of an era we call smart manufacturing. I also want to give you a flavor of what customers should expect. All this, what I have told you, is the benefit to the manufacturer and his employee. But for customers, the real benefit is that they will be able to get customized products. And manufacturers are going to now vie to give him that experience. So customers have always wanted three important things. One is quality, the other is delivery, and the third is cost. And so far, our industry was used to making this happen if you produce to scale. So a Maruti or a Hyundai could meet quality, cost, delivery, provided they went on a massive production run. Same requirement is now available to a retail customer. So you can actually ask for certain fabricated items to suit your dimensions, and you should be able to get in touch with someone and he can give you at the level of quality, delivery, and cost that you require. So customization of this is going to be the big thing. And I think you talked about the small and medium enterprise. They need not worry if they can't go to exhibitions. There are other places they can go. They can actually even demonstrate through remote ways how their plant is, provided it is really smart. They should be proud to let their customers see. And you know, that's something which my association is doing as part of a government and academic project called the Foundation of Smart Manufacturing at IIT Delhi, where in a few months we'll actually be able to give customers that unique experience. Place an order on the web, track it on your mobile, either by WhatsApp or video, track your product being produced in real time. So you know it's gone for machining. You know that the machining tolerance is X. That's the real beauty which is possible to come in manufacturing.
Absolutely. I just want to direct my next question to Mr. Shivaram. Where do you think India stands vis-a-vis other Asian counterparts as far as adoption of digitalization goes? Also of industries.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for this nice question. And I will first of all start by saying that India stands in a situation where a comparison is not possible. From the size of our economy, from the demography, from the unique way that our industry works with banks and with the government, how this triangle operates with each other, we are very different. Similarly, we also have a huge population, which on one hand provides a very big market for us, but on the other hand, when we want to use them in our factories, there is a large proportion who is very unskilled. So now you want to produce with a very big unskilled number of people, but the same so-called unskilled people are also very, very insistent on products and features. They know very well what they want, and therefore you are delivering to a market which is very picky, very choosy. But when it comes to being on the shop floor and doing certain amount of operations, then we find there is a big gap between what we want from them and what they are actually able to deliver. Now, this is a contradiction, and how do we address this? Plus, you have the problem, or rather, let us say the challenge, which we have all accepted and welcomed, of wanting to become a $1 trillion manufacturing economy, which is actually a mind-boggling number, very big. Okay, so how are we going to do it? Now the question is, how are we going to do it? We have to improve ourselves. Now, to improve yourself, first of all, you have to know where you are. Now, if you run a poll, even on this particular forum, and ask every factory owner, what is your OEE? Most people will give you an answer between 75 to 85, something like that. Whereas actually, if you do an independent audit, possibly you will not even reach half that figure. Now, I will say that this is a great benefit you can achieve by knowing exactly where am I. Because if you know where you are and where you want to reach, then you can strategize, then you can make plans, and you can move forward. So this is, I think, one of the biggest benefits of having a comprehensive digitalization. Now, what is the difficulty with actually wanting to go for digitalization? Why is it not just happening overnight in all factories? For one, it is perceived to be technologically very challenging. Yes, because the kind of acronyms which we use, the kind of hardware that is needed, etc., it all seems to be very expensive, very capital intensive, and there is a challenge whether we can actually deploy it on my shop floor, right? So this is a fear of, I will say, unknown and unfamiliar. And one of the ways where we want to actually address this is by evangelism, by going and talking out to people and explaining to them it need not be so complex. The individual units, the components may be very complex, but actually you don't have to do anything with it. You can learn to drive a car without knowing how an internal combustion engine works. The IC engine is a very complex piece of mechanism, but almost anybody can learn to just operate the accelerator, brake, and the clutch. So similarly, digitalization also can be managed in a similar manner. The bigger challenge in this area is that digitalization is not just a patch on of technology onto an organization. It is a change management. It's a people change. And therefore, it's actually mostly a management challenge. And I believe that many managers feel that this challenge is too big given the skill level and knowledge level of their employees, and therefore they really fear to go on that path altogether. But here I will say that if you don't do it, and if all your competitors get into that and obtain a tremendous competitive advantage against you, then where are you? So it's better to go in today and be one of the early movers so that you can make the rules of the game rather than later on scramble to come ahead.
Right.
Correct. Now I will, I think more or less I have covered all your issues, but essentially, as I say, OEE is the core of the whole thing.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Shivaram. I think based on what you said, I think it's a good time for us to bring up our first poll. That'll also give a chance for Ms. Kelkar. Ms. Kelkar, have you joined? Yes. Okay. So we're just going to open up our first poll. It's in line with what Mr. Shivaram was saying. So there will be a poll that will appear on your screen, and the poll question will appear, and all the options will appear as well. Which are the biggest hurdles for companies who want to adopt automation and digital solutions? Upfront cost, lack of understanding of the technology and its applications, lack of availability of the technology and vendors, or the lack of skilled manpower to implement, run, and maintain automated and digital systems. So that poll should be on your screens now. Please do select one of the 4 options that have been presented to you. Panelists, this will give us a good way for us to know that all the viewers, what do they think? I'll just give it around 30 seconds more. Okay. So that's the end of the poll, and the results should be displayed on your screen. So 21% think that upfront cost is the hurdle. 40% think it's the lack of understanding of the technology and its application. And the second most popular answer was the lack of skilled manpower to implement, run, and maintain these automated and digital solutions. Panelists, would anyone like to weigh in on the results here, since we have all these 4? Otherwise, I can move on to the next question. Okay, Mr. Agarwal, I'll direct the next question to you. As an end industry user, what benefits have you observed from this digitalization and automation? Of course, one part of us is commenting on why it's required, but as someone who's experienced it, we'd love to know the benefits that you've observed.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone, and good morning to all the attendees as well. And thank Priyanka for the question. So while we've heard a perspective coming in terms of how overall what the challenges are, I can share with you and with the attendees a perspective coming in right from the end user side. We are an end user organization and manufacturing organization to packaging products. So there are multiple technologies that we have been working with in the area of digitalization. One being the IoT itself, which is of course most talked about technology from manufacturing space perspective. Now, when we talk of IoT, of course one of the fundamental things, or the most often cited case study that comes up, is about predictive maintenance. It's about predictability of operations, ensuring the availability of machinery and plant, so that it improves the efficiency, the production efficiency of the shop floor, etc., etc. Now, what we've also done, we are also a manufacturer of machinery, packaging machinery. So we have started bundling IoT as a part of our offerings to our customers. So that's the other way of utilizing technology for our business. So while we look at IoT users for our own plant and machinery, for our own predictive maintenance, uptimes, and efficiencies, we have also started bundling it with our products. So that's one area where we see a value coming in. The other area that where we are working and we see some value coming is in the area of process automation, robotic process automations. So we have picked up certain business processes on which we are working, be it on the sales side or order management side, etc. And which is where things were being done manually earlier, but they have now been done through the automation of the process. And we see that the errors have come down as a result of which, the products that we sell to our customers, we are a B2B organization essentially. So the products that we sell to our customers are, of course, now as per their expectation, as per demand, lesser errors, because the order itself is the correct order which gets punched in. Otherwise, any error or mistake in the order punching into our system would have led to a wrong production or a wrong product being actually produced. So that's another area that we have started looking at, as an area of benefit for us in terms of digital technologies. Third way we have used technology, whether you want to call it a digital technology or otherwise, is that we've opened up an e-com platform for ourselves, which not many B2B organizations, at least in our industry space, do, wherein Customers can walk in on the site, they can place orders for the product that they want, or if it is readily available, and I'm talking of B2B packaging material, they can place orders for that, and that gets serviced to them. Okay. Now, so if we look at it, these are a couple of areas that where we've seen benefits coming in purely on the business side, on the operations side. On the backend side, on the what we are already in the process of implementing a cloud-based solution for our employees for human capital management. And so again, so we are moving ahead full force on a lot of digital technologies. Some are in early stages of adoption, some are in fairly mature stages of adoption, but they do bring in good amount of benefit for the organization. One thing which I would definitely like to highlight, I think our esteemed panelists before me did touch upon that challenge and also the issues which are coming up. And this comes more when you talk of IoT and the related technologies on the shop floor. There are two elements, which people who have been in the industry on the manufacturing side would be able to relate. There is an IT, as we know, and then there is an OT, which is the operational technology. Now, typically, what has happened in the organizations is that OT has never been with IT, so to say. OT typically has been with, what is called the maintenance and, the operations function of the organizations. It's a very, very, a real situation which I'm trying to, bring about here, which can become a challenge if people are not mindful about it, when they're, let's say, embarking on this journey. So the two elements have never really worked together in the past, the IT and the OT. Here now, when we're trying to bring it all together, which is the IT and the OT, it is very important that the organization is able to realize that earlier these were two different elements, but they're now merging, they're coming together, and the organization supports it, the structure supports it, the senior management sponsors it. I think that's very, very important, to be borne in mind when you're embarking on this journey. So I think, from that perspective, I think, yeah, please.
Go ahead.
No, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to ask a follow-up question, because I think this is one thing that most companies struggle with to understand. Is that, adoption of technology will improve efficiency. Can you quantify it, for our viewers in some way in terms of, so I think it's difficult for companies to understand, what kind of costs would they have to incur in order to implement this in their systems and processes, but what kind of benefit or what kind of cost, increase in profit margin, or can we expect after implementing this? Can you, since you have been an adopter of this, could you quantify it?
So, okay, so it's difficult to give out absolute numbers,
Right.
but from a process automation perspective, I can say that if done well, you can expect an efficiency in the processes improving by, if not, I'm saying a conservative one, at least 10 to 20%, depending on how you're able to deploy the solution, etc. So you can expect an efficiency of 10 to 20%, which could be in the areas of either speed, it could be in the areas of either error reduction, those kind of things. So, but overall, the process becomes more efficient, and hence, you're now, of course, there are other follow-on benefits which come in terms of being able to service the customer better, etc., etc. Typically, don't get quantified. On the IoT space, which helps, let's say, in terms of predictive maintenance and ensuring the uptime of machinery, current compared to what you have, I would say, you are able to get benefits of in the range of about something about 3 to 5% kind of thing. But let's not, look at just 3 to 5% as a small number. From an operations perspective, that's a huge, huge improvement. So I would say, this is the kind of benefit that we can expect.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal. I'll direct the next question to you, Mr. Gandhi. Why do you think digitalization is important for Indian industries, and which industries do you think are going to be at the forefront of this digitalization?
Priyanka, thank you so much for asking that question. And first of all, let me wish a good morning to all the people on this panel as well as on this webinar. So the way I look for digitalization is that it's actually a productivity enabler. Okay, it's a necessity today. It's not an option anymore, as I think Shivaram also brought out this point earlier. So the way, so if you look at, you made up interesting point at the start, which is about that there is an increased emphasis on Make in India. And if you see the last speech that the Prime Minister gave, he's also talking about plugging into the global supply chain. So essentially what he's actually talking about is that there is a resetting of global supply chains that is happening now post this COVID-19 or as a result of this COVID-19. And the Indian industry has a chance to grab a greater share or a greater pie of this restructured global supply chain. But for that to happen, we must be, if we have to become global players, we must be able to produce at quality. We must be able to produce at higher productivities. We must be able to produce at predictability. You know, we have to produce, when we say we are going to deliver something on such and such date, it's got to be a day before, not an hour later, right? So those are the factors that we will have to bring in into our manufacturing. And basically the only way for that to happen, to be able to do this, is to actually bring in digitalization. So from that point of view, it's an essential and not a kind of an option that is available to us, to the Indian industry. And there are of course other benefits of digitalization. I mean, when you also get plugged into data analytics. So I think as another panelist mentioned, if you have to do an effective root cause analysis, you cannot do it without proper data. And digitalization is a very, very beautiful way of actually making sure you have all of that data with you, so that you can actually do some analytics on it. Plus, of course, it can help you do many other things. So from that point of view, yes, it's a necessity. Talking about your other part of the question, which industries are actually ahead of this curve in India, at least from that point of view, I think one is the automotive industry. So the automotive industry has been a fairly early adopter of digitalization because of their, structured manufacturing process, and they were able to invest, and they were large units, and they were really able to invest a lot in this. I think now the pharma, the F&B, and FMCG are the other sectors that are catching up. But also, we see that many other sectors, including MSMEs, are catching up on this digitalization trend. And a part of the reason why they are doing this is also because they want to get into flexibility. Again, a point that I think Mr. Wadhwa brought up in terms of customization and everything else. So we're going to see more and more industries jump into digitalization to take advantage of this situation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gandhi. So now I think I'm just going to move on to Ms. Kelkar. My next question is for you. As an SME, which has a global footprint, what are your views on automation and digitalization? And how has digitalization helped you, especially with this global footprint?
Yeah. Very good morning to all the panelists and the participants, and thanks for the question, Priyanka. I think automation is still, there is a misconception in the SMEs that automation will be costing a lot and it will not benefit them. And also another conception is it will reduce the number of operators, and it is done only for reducing the operators. Actually, automation is not done for reducing the operators, but to improve the quality, predictability, and assurance. It's a kind of quality assurance system, and it also brings your processes previous and afterwards in place. For example, if you are going to present some part to the automatic machine, its previous processes have to be of that level, so that the input is absolutely regulated. So actually automation is a kind of a must now. In restructuring of the global supply chain, if we are looking at doing the parts which some Chinese companies were doing earlier, again the comparison of China comes into picture here. and we sell almost 50% of what we produce in China, and we experience that Chinese people have got the benefit of the scale, and so they invested very fast in automation as well as digitalization. And if we are to match them, if we are to be a part of the global supply chain, we have to think big, and we have to think, get the volumes, and we have to follow the expectations of the global buyer. So when you talk about this, apart from predictability and quality and flexibility, traceability is also extremely important. So tracing the cause or tracing of the failure, if at all it has happened, the foreign buyer or the global supply chain would expect you to give that traceability. Who has produced it, on the machine it was produced, etc., etc. And it is also imperative that the machines and the processes that you use in the whole manufacturing are of a certain quality level and of a certain automation level. I think India has got a level playing field after COVID, because after COVID, the whole world has come to a kind of a level zero, so to say. And so we are not, I think it is an opportunity. It is absolutely an opportunity for the Indian players. When you talk of SMEs, I think migrant labor will push them for automation and digitization. So on the one hand, we feel very bad about the migrant labor, the way they are going away from the industry and the cities. It is really very sad, but it is going to trigger the automation. People will have to think in terms of the automation and in terms of digitization. When you ask me about our how it has affected us, so see, being exporting to the large MNCs, we have been doing this digital some about 10-15 years ago itself, because of their demand. And so we have the smart machine features on all our machines. They are cloud based. So some machine of ours in Dongfeng Nissan in China can be attended from my factory in Aurangabad. So these kind of features are of course advanced, and they cannot I think as of now SMEs adopting them seems very difficult, but nevertheless they should be aware that such features are there. Also the tool management systems which we develop, because you have to monitor the tool wear, when you have to change the tool, the brake alarms, etc., etc. All those features are there on the machine, and they can be easily be utilized. For example, in the tool management system, we have an alarm which says that now the tool will wear out after 1 week and you should order it out now, or say 2 weeks. So such alarms and such features, I think, are extremely beneficial, and they will get very soon adopted. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kelkar. So really quickly, before I move into our, a couple of questions about challenges that we have, I'm going to just introduce poll number 2 on the screen. You should see it shortly. Again, it will be a similar process. So which functional areas or divisions can benefit the most from digitalization? So please select one of the options that comes up on your screen: production, procurement, distribution and logistics, marketing and promotion, or sales. Of course, your marketing and promotion means all the digital marketing that we do. So please do pick one of the 5 options on your screen. I'll give it around 30 seconds more. Okay, so I think 60% of our audience has voted, and marketing and promotion comes out a winner with 43% thinking that that is one area that will benefit most from digitalization. The second is production, which 31% of the respondents have voted for. Thank you for thank you for that poll. I just wanted to on something that Ms. Kilkar said about that it'll be difficult for SMEs to adopt digitalization given that they have been severely hit by the pandemic. Because per the FM's relief package announced yesterday for MSMEs, I'm hoping that that will actually be used and companies will actually use the benefits that have been announced to adopt digitalization. Mr. Agarwal, that what do you think? I mean, of course, COVID-19 has hit SMEs very hard, but with the announcement of these relief packages and with government support, do you think that companies will adopt digitalization post this pandemic? And what is the rate you think that they will adopt it?
I think, thanks again, Peter, for the question. I think if you ask me, I think it's a given now, frankly speaking. Over the last 2 months, if I can say that, approximately 2 months, if we talk about India, I think people have seen and people have realized that there is no other way. I mean, this is the only way forward, right? And so hence, the speed at which adoption is happening, let's say, or has happened in the past, versus the speed at which we will see the adoption in future is going to be very, very different. Right. Every organization which was probably even, a conservative or was a naysayer has seen that, the only way forward is digitalization. You have to enable things. So you have to, enable things to work on their own. You have to enable people to be able to work remotely. All those things that we talk in terms of digitalization have gained so much more importance during this period. People have realized that, yes, this is the new world order. We've also been hearing that. This is the new normal, most often used phrase these days, but that's how it is. So those people who were already pioneers will, of course, move on to the next level. People who were yet to enter into this space of digitalization will start entering now, but they would certainly do that. At the same time, it will also open up huge opportunities. One would be how much you want to keep as a physical process within the organization, within the boundary walls of the organization, is going to be, looked at, reviewed, questioned. Of course, you will need some operators, you need people on the shop floor. They will be there, right? You will require those people. But at the same time, a lot of other elements in the organization which can be done, without the physical presence would, of course, be enabled through available technologies that are there, be it in terms of, let's say, shared services setup, be it in terms of, customer services setup. All these things which can be very, very easily enabled through the technology. To my mind, they would actually, take a lot of precedence now over things which were, let's say, not getting priority. So this would gain a lot of priority, in my view. That's how. And hence the process of, digitalization will get speeded up, definitely. Now, so this is the, let's say the trigger. COVID-19 has come as a trigger for that, but it will certainly be. My response to the question is a very, very strong yes.
Thank you. Mr. Shivaram, what do you think is going to be the relevance now after the lockdown is lifted? What will be the relevance of digitalization? Of course, we've established that it's going to be extremely important and companies have recognized it as a way forward. Your thoughts?
Okay, now the factor of relevance. Now you see, this is one of those situations which is absolutely unprecedented. Yeah, as a manufacturing person, nobody would have come across such a crisis, such a catastrophe in his previous times, and therefore you have to actually think, how am I going to deal with such a situation? It is a classic, VUCA, absolutely volatile, absolutely uncertain. What is volatile and uncertain? Everything is volatile. Availability of material is uncertain. Availability of men is uncertain. Availability of money is uncertain, right? So now, what do you wish for at a stage like this? What you actually wish for is a complete visibility of your entire process end to end. That means a visibility of shop floor. Now, in good days, every owner would come and walk on his shop floor, do a morning gemba, talk to the people, look at the production machinery, and so on. Now, that is no longer possible. So how would you do it virtually? If you want to do it virtually, then digitalization is absolutely the only answer, and that is the big relevance of it. Now, is your own shop floor just enough? No. You want to have also a visibility of your entire supply chain and your delivery chain. How about the logistics? How about the vehicles, etc.? So that is the next challenge. Again, you want a visibility of that. Digitalization also helps you there. But beyond all this, but really speaking, for whom are you producing? It is you are producing for a market, and the shape of the market is completely changing. And how do you get a visibility of the market? It's not possible, because the market is something which you don't know a priori and you are trying to address. So therefore, a very important aspect at this stage is that you should go out and be available, present in front of the market, in front of the possible customers, in front of the possible new customer segments. Because as Mr. Agarwal has just said, the entire card of pack of cards is getting reshuffled, and there's going to be a scramble for more and more market share, and a market which possibly you did not address earlier, and where now you suddenly get an opportunity to be present. And if you don't grab it, somebody else is going to grab it. If global supply chains are going to change, suppose they're going to change their sourcing, suppose people say, okay, now I will source more local, then there's a huge big opportunity out there. And the earlier calculations of price competitiveness and so on do not apply anymore, because there are other restrictions, other factors. And until and unless you have a complete view minute by minute of what's changing where, you cannot really be effective in this area. And therefore, I will say that digitalization is actually a big must. It is as much important to invest in it, and as early, even as you try to recommission machines which have been shut down for 40 weeks or 40 days or 50 days. Equally, you must also scramble to put in digitalization. This is my message.
Thank you, Mr. Shivaram. So we're kind of running out of time, so I'm and we have a lot of questions from the audience as well. So I'm just going to kind of ask you all some final questions, and if as succinctly as you all can kind of answer those for me. So if you just share 2 tips for companies to cost effectively adopt digital technologies, because I think cost is a huge part of why companies get deterred. So I think that's relevant for people to know that if we want to adopt it in a cost-effective manner, any 2 tips, and as succinctly as you can kind of mention it. Mr. Gandhi, why don't we start with you?
Priyanka, I think that's a very, very important aspect. So one way would be to start small, but think big. That means you have to look for a mid to long term strategy. You must have a kind of a mid to long term vision. But today, tools are available for you to start small. You could start with, you have got maybe 10 machines on your shop floor. Maybe you could start by making, connecting five of them. Then do the next 5 later, right? Okay. And the other way to also reduce the cost is to improve productivity. And one way to do that would be to prepare for a high level of unpredictability. So I think Shivaram just mentioned there's a lot of volatility around us. There's a high level of unpredictability around us. So therefore, whatever we invest in should be with a high amount of flexibility, allows us to address different markets, allows us to pivot at a very short notice, allows us to change our focus in extremely agile manner. So that would be the other way to be cost effective.
Thank you. Mr. Wadhwa?
There's a saying, there's no gain without pain. I'm going to modify that a little bit and say, there's no gain without understanding pain. And I think, when a pack of cards comes crashing, you got to realize where exactly are you vulnerable. And I am going to give an advice basically for what is in your control. So if you're a manufacturer and you're an SME and you have limited money available, I'll give a very simple advice. If your machines are relatively new, that is, around 5 years or so, 5 to 10 years, know where the leakages are coming from. So put in a real time and accurate, transparent OEE measurement system. And if you have very old machine, more than 20 years old, then also I'll say just focus on monitoring the vibration and the temperature, and maybe the pressure if you've got hydraulics, etc. Because 45% of your breakdowns are going to come from vibration and temperature issues only. So very simple, put your money where you're most fragile, make sure that you are resilient, and then look at the rest of the things which are being talked about.
Thank you, Mr. Wadhwa. Ms. Kelkar, 2 tips to cost effective adopt.
Yes. So my first tip will be, first look at your basics, the basic processes, and in many MSMEs, the basic processes themselves have issue. Like are you using the right machine? As Mr. Wadhwa said, how old is the machine? And there is no point in the money further on digitalizing a machine which is under breakdown 20% of the time. So it is very important to see that the processes that you are adopting, apart from the machine, the processes need to be right. Indian SMEs, I typically have seen like shortcuts to save the cost, and that is very, very, very crucial. At this point in time, no shortcuts. You have to put the basics right. You have to have the robust process which assures the result. For example, you want to avoid grinding and try to do the job in turning itself. You are not going to get that tolerance. So whatever digitization you do, it's not going to help you out. This is the one. And the second thing is, we decide the objective for digitization. Is your objective to make just in time possible for your customer, or traceability? You want the traceability, or you want to bring the inventory cost down. With a clear cut objective, then you will know what kind of digitization you need to look for. There are so many technologies available. What to adopt really depends on your objective. So be clear about the objective. This is the second tip.
Thank you. Mr. Agarwal, 2 tips.
I think, okay, one Ms. Kelkar has already covered, which is very, very clearly saying that, yes, you need to know, right, when you're starting, what is it that you're trying to achieve, first of all, right? Don't try to just do something because that's the thing to be done, that's a fad, because everybody's talking about it. If you want to do it, you should know what your business objective is. That's one. Second, I think, for organizations who are yet to enter into this space, who are yet, just probably, thinking about it, but not sure how to do it, I think pick up an area where you feel, you can get maximum benefits, do a small pilot, run it, try it out, and see that, how successful it is, and then, replicate it across. As they say, try, work towards failing fast. And if you are failing, move on. But do it quickly, rather than delving too much more. I think that's the only way you can really use technology.
Mr. Shivaram, anything to add to this? Or
I can also offer my two pieces of advice to this. I mean, to sum up all of these people, there is one point really speaking. In cost effectiveness, you want to be sure that you are investing in a correct thing, that you are not putting the money into the wrong place. And how do you ensure that? You must look for a trusted guide. And as a trusted guide, offhand from the top of my head, I can offer you 2 people. One is FSM, represented by Mr. Wadhwa, and C4I4, represented by me. So a trusted guide is very important in a journey where you don't know the path yourself. And the second tip, really speaking, I would really implore, please invest in training. in training of your people. Because no matter what you bring into the factory, if you don't invest in training, that investment is going to be a loss. With this, I will stop. I have a big projection to give, but I will stop here.
No, those are two great points. I think one thing that came out also from this, from the polls that we conducted was the fact that marketing and promotions will also really benefit as a division from digitalization. So I've seen at least that apart from the digitalization and manufacturing, do you think the SMEs understand the value of digitalization of their marketing and promotion? So for example, getting on to the digital platform to promote products and services. So I think a lot of SMEs sometimes feel that that's not the right platform to get business opportunities, or that's not the right way to kind of meet potential buyers and sellers. However, now people are forced to kind of adopt it. So, maybe I'll ask Mr. Agarwal this because, as an end user. So do you think SMEs understand the value of being on digital platforms, investing in websites, digital products and services as a value add as to what they can offer?
I think I'll answer your question in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we as technologists or evangelists of technology talk about something, we get maybe a little, carried away by using technology words, the jargon, etc. But whether it's an SME or a large enterprise, anybody, at the end of the day, it's a business, and the person who's running the business understands only the language of the business. So it is up to us to, be able to make them understand the value that can be derived out of a particular technology, be it, digital technologies or otherwise. So the moment we are able to, establish that fact that yes, this particular technology would be able to give you a certain business benefit, which would be in the top line or in the bottom line, whichever way you want to look at it, I think then people understand. So it's a question of, how you communicate, the language that you use. It's not so much about, whether they are particular about using a specific technology or not. It's a question of how you present your case, how you talk about the business benefit and the value that can be derived by technology. I think that's more important.
Okay, so I'm really going to thank you. I'm really going to jump quickly into some of the questions that we've been getting. I think one good question I thought was, given the current scenario, of course, and the financial sector's impact, how positive will banks be towards lending for digitalization to existing industries? So, of course, one was, of course, availability, financial capital. Anyone who'd like to take that question?
Yeah, I think, banks like to give money, but they also want to kind of do a little bit of de-risking.
Right.
So if in our system we have people who can give confidence on behalf of the client, then I guess, like Ms. Kelkar says, if you can demonstrate that you have processes and this money is going to be well spent, the chances are the bank would make available that money. But if you just go with an empty bowl, I think then you're at the mercy of whatever they decide. So there's nothing concrete that you can hope for unless you create confidence. And I definitely believe that it's a people issue. You cannot do this journey without looking at the people aspect. So that's it.
Can I add something, Priyanka?
Yes.
Yeah. See, the real challenge for banks to lend the money for this will be the collateral. Of course, what could be the collateral here? And recent policy which declares that bank should disburse the money with collateral post-COVID, because to combat with the COVID situation. So there is no collateral will be required. So this will a bit help in getting the money for digitization from the bank.
Okay. Just one last question.
Priyanka, may I add something to this? I think the need to go to the bank is not for digitalization. It is not a fancy that somebody wants to do digitalization. He wants to improve the performance of his business. And banks are definitely open to give you money to improve your performance. And you have to convince them, you have to make a business case and say, through this, I will surely get an improvement. I mean, I think it has to be framed like that, and not that I want to buy some hardware or software.
Okay, thank you. I think there was one little lengthy question, so I think this is the last one that we'll take. So somebody said that we're a small family-owned organization, and the ability to assign permissions and access to various modules and reports is quite centralized, as there are not many professional executives capable of performing these tasks. The trust factor to give admin access to an employee is quite low, with the fear that the entire system will maybe damaged, right, in these automation processes. So, or data may be stolen, which is a huge concern for a lot of companies. Any insight on how this can be managed, or how can we mitigate this?
Priyanka, may I take this question?
Please.
Okay, interesting. I think the concern is very, very real. I mean, about the security of the data. Is my data safe? Can someone steal this data? And the more you try to give those kind of assurance, somewhere or the other, you see one incident popping up, whether in India or elsewhere in the globe, which suddenly, dampens the spirit, or which starts questioning the whole thing. However, having said that, I think it's a question of, it's a bit of mind change as well. It's a mind shift that has to happen. The thought process has to change. The way to look at it is, how confident are you of the security of the data which is lying, let's say, in your own data center within your own premises? How confident are you of that security? Are you living, only under the false sense of security that yes, since my data is with my servers physically within my boundary walls, is it secure? Because the data is not stolen by someone coming in and picking up the server and walking away. The data is stolen. I think, people will have to look at it dispassionately and see, when you talk of data security, if that is the real concern, whom do you trust, etc., etc. Do an audit. There are organizations, who are able to, carry out an audit, security audit, and which are not very expensive audits. Even for a small organization, I would say that they actually carry out those independent audits, which gives them a real insight as to how secure their own systems are. Right. And versus someone else, maybe on the cloud or elsewhere, or somewhere else, or using how secure those systems are, and then take a call. A lot of it is, I think, the fear of the unknown. People fear that if it is going out, it is unsecure. That's the thing.
So I think we're running out of time. We have around 2 minutes left. So thank you so much to all the panelists for being here today for discussing this very relevant and important topic. I've put some subscription offers for all our publications up on the screen. So whoever is viewing this webinar, please do take note. If there are any other questions that our panelists can answer you, please do email it to us, and we will try our best to get as many answers to you as possible. These are just a couple of our features in our forthcoming issues. And, thank you, panelists. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking out the time. Thank you for discussing this. And, stay safe, everybody, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.